Hello everyone, welcome back to another Unity's basic tutorial video. If you are new to our channel, please subscribe our channel, like and share this video and support us. So today we are going to tell you about one of the Unity's basic component called Rigidbody. Suppose you are making a game and you want your game objects to move, behave and interact with the physics system. This thing requires physics, and for physics you require Rigidbody. For physics interaction object, we need to add the Unity's component called Rigidbody. So let me open one project. I have done little bit setup here. In this project, I have a little bit cube here that is working here as a floor, and a little sphere that is little bit up from the cube, right? Okay. To attach a rigid body, first select the game object in that you want a physical interaction. Okay. Before that, let me first hit play. You can see that our sphere is hovering in the air, right? Let me stop it. Now, for attaching a rigid body, we have to attach rigid body in this sphere. Right? We have select a sphere in the inspector. Here add component and write rigid body. Now our sphere will interact with the physics. One thing you guys have to remember that if you want to use a rigid body, you must have added a collider to that object to interact with the other object, right? So now our sphere has rigid body component, right, and a sphere collider too. And let me hit play. You guys can see that our sphere is fallen down. It means it. Now our sphere can interact with the physics system. Means you can do colliding and other things to it. Let me stop it. Now let's explain rigid body better. Rigid body has numerous options such as a mass, drag, angular drag, use gravity, IsKinematic, Interpolate, collision rejection, constant, etc. Let's talk about one by one. First option is mass. Mass is like weight to the game object. Higher mass object push the lower mass object more when they collide. Right? Just like think about a big truck that is collide with a car. Right? Let's understand mass a little bit better. So I have created a little bit image here. Think about this possibility. We have two objects A and B. A has a mass 10 and B has a mass of 1. Right? If A and B both are collide, A will push harder to a B. Right? That will how mass will work. Right? Think about here a second possibility where we reverse the mass. It means we have B game object whose has a mass of 10 and 1 has a 1. It means B will push A little bit hard. Hope you guys understand the mass, right? Let's move on to the next option, and that is a drag. That is a drag. Drag can be used to slow down a game object. The higher the drag, the more objects get slowed down very easily, right? We have a similar option to the drag. Drag will work with the position, and another option is called angular drag. Angular drag can be used to slow down the rotation of the game object. The higher the angular drag, the rotation will slow down. Let's move on to the next option, and that is use gravity. This option controls whether the gravity affects to the rigid body or not. You can disable or enable by clicking here. Right. So let's move on to the next option, and that is called IsKinematic. This setting affects whether the rigid body will react to the physics or not. Right. Let me show you by one example. Let me click here in sphere. Let me duplicate it. Let me move this sphere a little bit up. First, let me disable our lower spheres use gravity off, so you guys can understand this will not affect by gravity, right? And let me first hit click play. You guys can see that both the spheres fall down to the ground, right? Now let me select our lower sphere and let me enable this kinematic true here. Let hit play again. You guys can see the lower sphere not affected by the physics. That is how IsKinematic work. Our next option is Interpolate. Interpolate has non-interpolate and extrapolate. These three options are help you to solve tutoring. First, let me talk about Interpolate. If you select Interpolate setting smooth the transfer movement based on the previous frame. It will decide your transfer movement on the previous frame, right? Extrapolate Extrapolate settings smooth the transfer movement based on the predicted to next frame location. Just remember that using interpolate or extrapolate means work on the engine, right? It means it takes so much load. So you will want to avoid using them whenever you can. Okay. Our next option is collision detection. Collision detection has discrete, continuous, dynamic, continuous reflectivity, right? Okay. Unless you have not any problem, you should just have the default select called discrete, right? Continuous is for the fast moving object that are interact with the static gaming objects. Continuous dynamic is for the fast moving objects that are interact with the dynamic objects, right? It means if you don't have any problem with collision, you just use discrete. If you have a fast moving object that are interact with the static game objects in the game, just use continuous. And if you have a fast moving object that is interact with the dynamic objects that are also moving in the scenes, just use continuous dynamic, right? Hope you guys understand. If you don't understand anything, just comment down below. Our next and the last option is constraint. You can freeze a position or a freeze rotation of a physics object, right? Suppose you have a one ball that is jumping up and down, but you don't want to move them in the position of the x and z. So you guys can select these two options and make them just in up and down x and y position. Okay. Let me here show you example. We have a, let me delete this cube. So this, let me click F1. So if I click pay, this sphere is fallen down to the ground, right? Why it is not fallen down? Okay, we have selected a is kinematic true. So just me enable it and let me click on the use gravity to true. Now this object will fallen down to the ground, right? If I click here, freeze position 2, why? Let's see what will happen. The sphere is stays. It means we freeze these objects y position.
I hope you guys understand about the rigid body. If you are new to the channel, please subscribe our channel, like, share this video and support us. So we will meet you in the next video. Goodbye.